Hey everybody, it's me, Baboody. I'm back from Arkansas and here to give a little recap about the tournament, how it went, what my time was like, and all that. So where I was last week, I was in kind of Seattle, South Seattle, Washington area. So I took a flight from Portland, went to Lowell, Arkansas. Pretty straightforward flight, nothing really to report there. But let's talk about my luggage situation for a minute. I wanted to bring all my redemption cards, and so as you can see, the bottom of my suitcase is just all redemption cards. So that maybe took about a third of it. And then I had another binder full of cards, and you stack that binder on top right there. That's almost like half of my luggage just dedicated to redemption cards. And so I've been traveling this way for 2 weeks, and I only had enough room to fit about 2 pairs of clothes in here. And so I'm just glad to be back in my house where I can wear different clothes and a different jacket, because I've been wearing my it's this different color. It's like a nougat colored jacket for about 2 weeks. I'm so glad to be done with that. All right, so Lowell was pretty cool. So we kind of met in someone's backyard. There's like a nice little barn building, which I'll show you in a second. But it's just, beautiful grass, springtime, good weather. Some days it was cloudy, some days it was not. And this is the view you'd get of the place once you stepped outside. Kind of like in the backcountry almost, I felt like. And here's what the place kind of looked like once you stepped inside. So it was a little place that had a bunch of tables set up with chairs. And this was, I think, a picture of the local tournament we did on Thursday night before the States. It's a really clean place, a great place just to run any tournament. I liked it here a lot. And the people I liked even more. So let's talk about some of the people I met. So there's me right here. There's my nougat jacket that you see that I wore for 2 weeks. I washed it, of course, don't worry. And this gentleman right here, Stephen Brooks, he was the man who let us play on his property. And these are his 3 beautiful sons right here. This is Zeke, this is Titus, and this is Zane. Lovely opponents and up-and-coming redemption players. And right here we have Mark and Jonathan Underwood. Jonathan's a really fun guy. I get pleasure to play with. And Mark, he's been around in redemption for a while. I think he used to be one of the elders, if I'm not mistaken. And this is Jamie and his son Liam. Liam just cracks me up, man. This guy, don't get me started on this guy. I'll tell you a story about Liam at the end, but these were the crew that was playing Type 1 on Saturday. There was a bigger crew that was playing teams and booster, but some of them had to leave. So I forget their names right off the top of my head, but it was a pleasure playing with them as well. So we had a pretty small crew on Saturday for Type 1, but I wanted to talk about the sealed that happened on Friday night. So for those who don't know, Redemption Sealed is where you get the starter decks, you add a couple packs to them, and then you play them against each other. And that can get kind of interesting if that's one way to put it, or tedious is the other word I would use. Because imagine if you have 2 decks that are the same. For example, I'm playing the purple-green Prophets in Warriors with an Egyptian defense, and he's playing the same exact thing, right? And so you have cards like this one, I think he played, where it said, interrupt the battle, and you can ban any number of Egyptians. And so I'd put all my Egyptians out, and he put all his Egyptians out. And you have stuff like this that happens all the time in these sealed games, where you just banded to each other's stuff, and it just takes forever to resolve. I mean, and the thing about sealed, you also don't have access to Second Coming, so you're always like playing the 4 souls, so that's longer too. Personally, I don't really like sealed that much. I get pretty bored of the star decks, but it is fun to see situations like this where my opponent was able to get all my Egyptians and ban them into battle. And it's just, you have a company of prophets with an outpouring of the Holy Spirit versus this entire Pharaoh and his army, and it's very funny to me. And I think I ended up winning this battle because I played a card that shuffled all evil characters in battle. It was very poetic, the Egyptian army got flooded into the sea. So sealed, I was able to win, get first place in that one. Although a little caveat there were only 4 people in the sealed category. The other people were playing teams. I think I would have preferred to do teams, but I wasn't able to find a teammate, which is all understandable, especially showing up somewhere last second. All right, booster draft. A booster draft in Redemption is also one of those interesting things. I come from Magic the Gathering, and the draft experience in Magic is a lot more smooth, I would say. In Redemption Draft, it's interesting. Almost all the cards you draft, you have to end up putting in your deck. So, I ended up playing with cards I didn't want to play with. Definitely like Spy. Like, I don't need a Spy in my deck. Jerusalem Tower, nah, I don't really need that. What I drafted here actually seemed to work out pretty well. I drafted 2 hoppers, which is funny. And having 2 hoppers in your deck makes your deck size 48, so that's really nice too. Up here, this is my reserve. Okay, so for the booster draft, I think we ended up drafting 3 packs of Fall of Man, 3 packs of Israel's Rebellion, and then 3 packs of Prophecies of Christ. So it definitely helps the booster draft experience when now that there's roots in the packs, which makes it a little bit easier to try and draft cards to fit a certain theme. But I just want to say it was rough. It was rough trying to build a playable deck with 3 different sets, 3 different themes, and all the cards are trying to do something different. I would have preferred to do a booster draft where we all drafted maybe 9 packs of the same thing, or however many packs we drafted. Because that way, the last booster draft I did, I was able to get like a mono brown defense with a mono white offense. But this draft was a little bit different. It forced us to get creative, and it forced me to play cards and interactions that I actually never saw coming. Okay, let's talk about the draft. So, ended up drafting a lot of Crimson cards with only 2 Crimson Evil characters. But that's okay, because Fiery Serpents, if people don't have an answer to this card is just going to bite them in the face. So what I do, I block with Fiery Serpents, discard one of my many evil enhancements, and they'd be put in special initiative right away. And if they had a card that would negate it, I'll be, okay, I'll pick up my Seas from Babylon, and then I'd play my Seas from Babylon. Or if they had a card that negated it, I had a bunch of negate enhancement cards too. So Fiery Serpent's really good. Probably one of the MVPs of the draft for sure. Another card, Orpha kind of does the same thing. She says withdraw OT heroes or something. And so again, that's like all you have to do is discard a card in your hand to do that. So I kind of had 2 of those characters that did that, which provided some solid blocks. Black, I had a guy who would protect. I said I could discard a card from my hand to protect NT Lost Souls. So I made sure I got all the NT Lost Souls. That never really came up, but it was possible I could discard my abandonment to do that. Black, I don't know, really just cards just to be there, just filler cards. Malachite Slave, which is nice. Could use it to go grab some of my strong brown characters. Probably the strongest was Dathan. So if they attack with somebody kind of small, you block with Dathan, you grab your Go Into Captivity from your reserve, prevent their next good enhancement, and you have a negate in your hand. That's pretty strong. I like pairing him with an Adjugenai, which could band to him. So I have an 8/11 banded to a 6/8. Prevent the next, and have a good negate in your hand. So that was strong. So obviously, defensive heavy build right here. Let's talk about the offense. Kind of this ragtag group of people, but we had 2 strong angels. Hey, yo. And then I picked up a buckler, but no enhancements, weapons to put on him. So buckler was just like my 3rd copy of strong angel. Strong angel on turn 1, pretty good. Not a lot people can do unless you just have a bigger guy. I played 1 of these enhancements, which was silver, and I could give my strong angel 6 more attacks of power, which should be enough to break through a lot of people. So yeah, I got random lost souls that way. I also drafted Melchizedek, and Melchizedek's pretty big by himself, so you just send him in by yourself. Hope you have enough numbers. But there's a lot of Genesis humans running around in roots, so you can just ban to their entire offense sometimes, which is nice. And then I had a card down here which would interrupt the battle and let me ban to people from that person's testament. So Melchizedek come in, ban to a bunch of OT heroes. That's pretty nice. And then I was able to pick up a copy of Ahimelech, which is a Israel's Rebellion rare, and pair that with a Sin Offering, which is another Israel's Rebellion rare. And I put Sin Offering in the reserve. So my Ahimelech, when he would attack, I could grab it from my reserve, have a really big character that could get initiative, and then I could place Sin Offering to negate or banish an evil card. And this card says, if used by an OT priest, you may reserve this card. So I had this repeatable machine gun attack, or just attack with Ahimelech, play Sin Offering, reserve it, do it again next turn. So that's really strong. Requires 2 rares to pull this off in draft, but it feels good once you do. And the cool thing about this was that I would attack with Ahimelech. they try to put enhancement that puts me in special initiative. I negate it with Sin Offering, and then I reserve it. What are they going to do? They don't have any way to target it anymore. I draw a card off of Himalek, and now they're just stuck there with a bunch of negates in their hand and no way to win the battle. So that was very interesting too, or frustrating from the opponent's perspective. Let me just talk about some more highlights before I move on. I had a Pharaoh's Baker, which could go into my reserve and grab the Dreaming Pharaoh. Oh, and Pharaoh's Baker could also pick up that go into captivity. So it's a really strong block where they go Pharaoh's Baker, get Dreaming Pharaoh, hold up, go into captivity as a nice block. And I guess the last really good strong attack I had was King's Daughter. She's that purple hero you see kind of tucked back there. But she says prevent the next evil enhancement used by a male. And so I'd attack with her. She kind of has low numbers. They block with a big guy. Then I play Testing Solomon, which would underdeck a hero. Sorry, which would underdeck an evil character and a card from their hand, regardless of protection. And I could do that twice. So attack, okay, do it against, attack, do it again, So that was pretty disgusting. So I actually ended up doing that against King of Tyrus. Okay, so anyways, one of my opponents opened up a King of Tyrus, and normally King of Tyrus is a big problem for me. CBP, protect this character from OT heroes and opponent's dominance. There's not a lot of ways I can get rid of this. But sure enough, I attack with my King's Daughters, and they block with King of Tyrus. And then I played Testing Solomon, and regardless of their protection, I get to underdeck them. And this happens twice in the same game, which is so brutal. They get their King of Tyrus back eventually, and I just attack with King's Daughter again, and the same thing happens. It's a disaster. So let's see. A lot more people play Booster Draft than Sealed deck, so I would imagine at least 12 people were doing Booster. And I managed to take down first place there as well. And the cool thing about Booster was Redemption Aggie. I don't know if you go on Discord, but Redemption Aggie, he's one of the people who helps create the rules. He answers all sorts of ruling questions. He was there. I got to meet him in real life, so that was a pleasure. I got to draft right next to him. So Aggie, if you passed me Fiery Serpents, thank you. I don't know who passed me that. I don't know if I opened that, but I'm eternally grateful for whoever passed me that and the Dreaming Pharaoh. All right, let's talk about the Type 1 2 player, which happened on Saturday. So draft happened Saturday morning, and then Type 1 2 player happened Saturday evening. And I have a deck list here. If you squint closely, you may recognize it. It is a version of Augur the Wise's Nativity Herod's deck, or Babooni Tim's Nativity Herod's deck, whatever you want to call it. I'll put a link in the description if you want to watch more videos or like a deck tech about this particular deck. But I've been talking with Augur on Discord a lot before the tournament, and I was having some doubts about Daniel, and he was really hyping up about this version of Nativity Herod's. And so I wanted to just kind of test things and get the tournament experience with this deck. So that's what I did. Deck felt really strong. For those who aren't aware of what the deck's trying to do, it's trying to play a turn 1 Resurrection to grab a hero and a fortress from your deck and have some really strong turn 1 plays. If you can get out your Bethlehem Stable on turn 1, not only do you have hand, deck, and reserve protection, each turn you are getting resources that are going to help you win your battles, and also this happens to be able to protect your heroes too. The heroes in Nativity are very good, like Mary, Zechariah, Gabriel. All these heroes, really strong attacks by themselves, but when you're kind of combining and pairing them together, makes for really potent offense. A lot of the heroes play the word negated in their special ability, so if you're able to activate Overtaken and attack with your heroes, this Overtaken's ability is going to last for a whole turn. So when your defense blocks, you'll be able to take advantage of Overtaken. And there's nobody better in the business to take advantage of Overtaken than a Herod's defense. I'm not going to give a big deck tech about what's going on here. I've already made a video about that, so if you're interested to see more about this deck and learn more about it, go watch that video. But that's the basic over idea of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pair Nativity with Herod's, and Overtaken's kind of the bridge that meets these together. Also, taking advantage of the new Glory of the Lord promo. I had a physical copy of that I won at the Northwest Regionals the week before. And this is really good if you're attacking, you have like 4 heroes in battle and they block with their single character trying to blow you out with an enhancement to win the battle. You just play down this Glory of the Lord and they can't do anything. Or example, if you have a character that has protection from them and they're going to try to get around that protection, you just play Glory of the Lord before they play their stuff. And now there's just like a battle by the numbers where you have protection. So that's really nice too. If you look on Land of Redemption, you can find this deck list that Augur's been piloting in the Lucky Grand Prix. There are a couple of changes that I want to talk about. I'm playing 20 Shekels and he's playing Temple Veil. It's a trade-off, but I like the power of pairing 20 Shekels plus Mary. 20 Shekels can dump evil cards into their territory, and Mary can just walk in and reserve cards from their territory. So sometimes if they only have one evil character in their hand, and you attack with Mary, suddenly they have no evil characters and you get a free lost soul. So just because of the power that this card can play with Mary, I think it's worth it over Temple Veil. You don't need to do a lot of bouncing in this deck, which Temple Veil can do. And sometimes you want to pivot from just being heavy on defense with Overtaken to more like, hey, I need to finish the game. It's time to activate 20 Shekels and get it done. So that's one change there. He was playing No Straw, but I suggested like, hey, why not just play Feudal Inquisition? Because No Straw is used in the scenario where a bunch of characters are attacking you and you have to block and try to play one enhancement to get rid of them. And so my idea is like, okay, Feudal Inquisition does the same thing that No Straw would do, except it's slightly more flexible. Like if they block with like or if they attack with a kind of single hero that has okay numbers, you have pretty low characters like Herodias' daughter and Herodias. Just like blocking and playing Feudal Inquisition is also sometimes pretty good play. I guess the only downside is if they'd be attacking with somebody who's preventing the next or negating all enhancements. But in that scenario, you have Golgotha. You have Golgotha out. The first skull icon card used by your NT character gains cannot be prevented. So I cut No Straw, put in Feudal Inquisition there. Also, I changed out a Lost Soul because this deck is really bad at blocking turn one. If you don't have your Herod's Guard or you don't have any of these guys, let's just say you have Herodias and Herodias' daughter in your hand. It's like, okay, I'm not blocking turn one. The idea with Dole is if somebody's attacking you, they're probably going to be searching turn one. And so you can grab that piece you need to get a good block turn one. So that was just to kind of show up some of the weaknesses I saw in the deck. I wanted to do more like add a Malachite Slave, but I don't feel like that Malachite Slave is super necessary. And the changes I made to the reserve, I added Herod Antipas back in because I feel like he's a really good way to get some really good cheesy blocks in Herods. And I added Shepherds of Bethlehem and took out Magnifying Multitude or whatever that card's called. Because Soul Drought is a real strategy against this deck, and Shepherds can help mitigate that. Shepherds is pretty solid too. Being able to toss all evil enhancements with the Brigade Not in Battle is strong too. So yeah, basically it's Augur's deck. Made some tweaks. The deck felt really strong. I have some questions about its Disciples matchup though, specifically Disciples decks with Nazareth in them. They go first. It seems really hard to get around that. Or the matchup seems kind of swingy. So I want to do more testing with this against like Matthew decks, Nazareth in it. If you're curious to see what that type of deck looks like, go ahead on Land of Redemption and look for Joe Mama's Disciple deck. Anyways, here is a picture of my first match that I played with the game. This is turn one. It all started off with the New Covenant grabbing the Ascension, the New Covenant grabbing the Annunciation. I used the Annunciation to grab the Resurrection. I attacked with Guardians and Zechariah, drew 2 cards, played the Resurrection, banded John, Magi, Joseph into battle. John drew me cards, Magi got me a card, Joseph got me Mary. Mary came in, banded too, why not? And before you blocked, I played Star Bethlehem, drew like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Drew 4 cards off of that, activated his star ability, played a Lost Soul out of his deck. He had no Lost Souls. And this is all turn one. I have 8 cards in my hand. This is my battlefield. This is just, the pop-off potential of this deck is kind of crazy. And I have a great turn one block with Herod's Guard. And already Herodias is locking them out of the reserve. So my poor opponent was just sitting there watching me do all this. And it was just, they were a good sport about it. But this deck is crazy. Like, what are you going to do if you're the opponent and this happens? I guess the best case scenario is you block, you have a card that can deal with all these heroes in battle that cannot be negated. I don't know. This was I've never seen the Nativity Herod deck like do this well on turn one before. But it probably happens more often than I think it does. So I was able to win Type 1 2-player as well. So I did the hat trick. I got 3 tournament Ws in 1 weekend. I was staying the night at my friend's house. They lived about 30 minutes north of the tournament. And these are some old friends from Santa Barbara who had actually moved to Arkansas. And they're kind of having a family get together the weekend I came. So it kind of worked out. So normally this is Rhett and his wife Kaylee, and they and their 3 kids live in California, kind of where I live. And this is Ryler and his wife Savannah. They also live in California. So they were out there the same exact weekend I was out there. So that was kind of fun. And this is Emily and Aaron. They're married. And they have they have 4 kids, Avery, Rhett, Ryler, and Sadie. Avery's married to Julian. And this is Aaron's mom. And I think that's Aaron's dad. If I get anybody's name wrong, I apologize. And this is Riley, which is Rhett's daughter. And these are Wyatt and what's his name? The other twin. These are both twins. They are the sons of Kaylee and Rhett. I don't know. These are some of the funnest people I've ever met. So it's a true pleasure to get to see them again. Oh yeah, and there's a fly. The fly photobombed us. I got to spend a lot of time in their guest room. And these are some of the funniest people I know. So I attribute a lot of the humor I have to getting to know these people. Oh yeah, did I mention Julian? I forgot, but Julian's married to Avery. Comment below if you're one of these people watching my YouTube video. They would make a lot of jokes about redemption, like, Tim, like, why don't you just play your Jezebel card? Or, and it was funny, like, on the weekends, they wouldn't even see me. I just play 12 hours of redemption and come back late at night. But I really appreciate all of the hospitality these people showed me. Okay, so some other memories that kind of stand out to me right now. You remember that guy Liam from earlier? He came up with the nickname Father Jimothy for me. We were just playing. He started calling me Father Jimothy. I was like, what the? It was really funny, actually. It was kind of unsettling at first, but it became really funny. So if you see a guy in my YouTube section calling me Father Jimothy, you probably know it's Liam or one of the people he's brainwashed into calling me that. Liam was really funny. I got to play a couple of games with him and we just kind of goofed around, especially while like I killed all those evil characters and he was sad about that. Also, I was pretty like I was losing my voice during the tournament weekend, and whenever I try to go up with my voice would crack. And so my communication, I was barely able to talk during the entire weekend. My nose was running. I had a little cough in the back of my throat. I was like, I was very not feeling 100%, you know? So I'm grateful for all the people who endured me sniffling around and being sort of a biohazard. I still have a little cough, but I'm feeling much better now. Get all those sniffies out. So Father Jimothy was nice. Being kind of sick wasn't that super nice. And having no voice and trying to connect with people, that was rough on me. Like I want to talk and interact with people, but when you have no voice, that's very hard to do. So note to self, I guess, try not to talk so much. Maybe take it easier on your vacations, and yeah, I don't know. What else can you learn from lessons like this? All right, and now today is Wednesday, April 24th. I am back home in Santa Barbara. Flew home on Tuesday after some delays in Dallas, and it's good to be home. It's good to be back in my little bachelor pad, and it's good to just be back in a place where I feel comfortable making videos again and have my own little water bottles. And, you know, it's nice. It's nice being home. But guess what's in the back of my mind? I'm already thinking about nationals in August. Yep, that's right. I'm probably going to buy my airplane tickets next. And this tournament helped me prepare a lot for nationals. Like, I notice I'm making less mistakes as far as forgetting to do things during my upkeep or, you know, playing the decks differently. So I really appreciate tournaments like this where it kind of gets you ready for nationals, so to say. And that's my Arkansas State tournament recap. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, put them down below in the comments section. All right, bye everybody.